The live stream is not
Oh,
for BCA. We
okay.
have a live stream channel, so you can watch it live as it's happening, which is why they call it live stream. Duh. I hope somebody cuts that out.
Are we ready?
We're ready.
All right, good evening, everyone. Calling together the planning board meeting for March 6, 2004. First, a quick opening statement. This meeting is being recorded and allows for real-time public participation. Comments can be addressed to the planning board utilizing the Zoom virtual meeting software for remote access. This application allows users to view the meeting and send a comment or question to the chair via the answer and question function. Submitted text comments will be read into the record. For those of you joining by phone, press *9. If you want to ask a question, please raise your hand. A copy of this recording will be on the city's webpage. All votes will be done via roll call to ensure count accuracy. All right, starting with the roll call. James Sweeney.
Here.
Yolanda Spinola.
Here.
Marty Kroll.
Here.
Larry Hassan.
Here.
And Tony Gonzalez present. All right, so tonight's agenda, we have site plan review for property 1315 Main Street. And then secondly, an annual reorganization of the planning board. First, can I get a,
Motion to approve February minutes.
thank you.
Second.
Second.
All right, roll call. James Sweeney,
Yes.
Wanda Spinola,
Yes.
Marty Kroll,
Yes.
Larry Hassan,
Yes.
Tony Gonzalez, yes. All right, next up.
Madam Chair, if I may, before we move on to 1315, you need to take a vote as to whether or not to postpone this public hearing or to proceed with this public hearing. And then if there's an affirmative vote, then you can open the hearing and go.
All right, thank you for that. First, I believe Evan has some lot releases for Amelia Estates.
Oops.
Yes, we do. They are looking to release 6 lots out of the held 8. They've done the work that they need to do to get to that stage. DPW said it's good. We'll be holding back 2 lots until they complete the work. No issues.
All right, do we have to do them individually or just by numbers, or?
I'll read the numbers off and then you can just do one of them. So it's going to be lot 9, 10, 12, 13, 16, and 17 to be released.
All right, is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, roll call. James,
Yes.
Rolando,
Yes.
Marty,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Tony, yes. All right, thank you. So what Rob is referencing, the applicant for Teen Challenge is not here tonight, but we can vote to go ahead and review the application and vote on this. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Oh, madam.
Hang on.
Go ahead, Rob.
What
Motion
this
for the hearing.
To hear
Yeah,
it, just to
is
hear it. This is
continue,
just,
not continue. Yes, thank
just
you.
first a motion to votes to hear it, and then after that, we'll vote to pass or deny. Okay, so Larry, do you
Thank you.
still want to make that motion?
So yes, motion to approve, to hear.
Second that.
All right, roll call. James,
Yes.
Rolando,
Yes.
Marty,
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Yes, all right, Tony, yes, thank you. So, basically, just a recap of this project that's been continued 100 times. 1315 Main Street. It's a proposal to construct a new dwelling and build an addition onto an existing garage. It's been determined that the stormwater issues between the applicant and the neighbor are not within our purview or decision, so we don't have to worry about the stormwater any longer. That's between the law department and I guess the city staff. What we're here to vote on is the easement issues. And have they been addressed according to what the city staff had requested? I see the department has suggested that this be contingent, if this is passed, is contingent on the city staff approving and recording their changes to the easement at 30 Clifton Ave. Any questions from the planning board
Madam
member?
Chair? Yeah, Larry, it's Larry. So I'm reading some of the notes that the staff has put together for us. Do we know, have they revised that easement, and is it in the staff for review? Has it been reviewed, or do we know that yet?
It's my understanding it's been revised and submitted to the, I guess, the law department, and is it the law department and the engineer, Evan?
It's just the law department.
Just the law department.
So,
City
but they have not
Solicitor's
approved
Office.
it yet, is I guess the answer I'm looking. We don't have that cleared.
No, it's just been
Correct.
submitted, so that's why it would be, it's suggested that there's a condition that it be approved and recorded before, as a condition, basically.
All right, that's all the question. That's the only question I had. I mean, thank you.
Other questions? Is this open for public comment, Rob?
Yes, as a public hearing, we now have an opportunity for people to speak in favor or against the project. And so if anyone would like to speak, please use the raise your hand icon at the bottom of the screen. Hover over that and we will allow you to address the board. And I have Veronica Stevens, who I am going to allow to talk. Hang on just a second. Veronica, are you there?
I hope so.
There you are.
Everyone can hear me then.
Yes.
I'm kind of at a loss because I'd like to know exactly what I can and cannot speak about. For the record, I don't want to cross lines. Can I speak about anything, or do I have to avoid certain topics?
No, you're free to speak about it. Anything regarding the Teen Challenge and your situation with them.
I am, okay. First, in regards to what is being proposed, I'm concerned that the easement being elevated and the wall being able to remain leaves my property in jeopardy. What I haven't been able to obtain is any information regarding how the enforcement order is going to be enacted. I mean, it's enforcement. He's got an enforcement. They've issued it, but I don't know what's going on with it. Nobody wants to tell me anything. So if you approved this plan, which I have 2 pages of reasons why you shouldn't, even if you don't consider my water issues, I don't know how it will hold, as Madam Chair said last time. If you approve this and it contains the easement and this wall, is that allowing them to stay as approved changes, or are they being eliminated from the drawings so that they can still be addressed by the enforcement order and the notices of violation? Can anybody answer that?
All I know is that that's not within our realm, so we can't give you an answer for that, unfortunately.
So if you approve this, you're not saying that the wall and the easement are out of the approvement. They're not part of the approvement. There's no way for you to delineate that this is not part of what you're approving.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
this would approve the wall and the drainage improvements, all the landscape improvements that were missing from the last build that they were supposed to do. And let's see what else. And then, of course, the house and the new house on Clifton and the tool shed being attached to 1305 Main Street.
Well, let me move on to those items then, because I think with my portion not being part of the purview that you can look at, I'm forced to look at what you can look at and try to convince you that this shouldn't go through. And I want to point out, I am not against Teen Challenge. I respect their endeavors with drug and alcohol rehabilitation, and I respect them as neighbors. It is only this construction that has caused a problem, and it's a problem because it's damaging my home. That being said, the things that I have noted since starting in 2021 with this project is that in several tech reviews, it was mentioned that in one of the tech reviews, it was mentioned that the sewer needed to be moved, the sewer access needed to be moved from under the porch, and it's still under the front porch at 12 Clifton. It was mentioned that the dumpster needed to be moved away from the building 10 feet with a block wall behind it so that it couldn't accidentally be pushed up against it. It's still right up against the building. There's been comments made that the applicant has built willy-nilly over property lines, and that's evident. There is no delineation for the confinement of what the workspace is, as it's been reported in several different places as different numbers. In the June 2016 application for this project, the property information form signed by both the applicant, Oscar Cruz, and Scott Farrier stated that the land area square footage is 104,544 square feet. But just 2 or 3 pages later on the site plan review fee schedule, they declare it as 500 to 10,000 square feet, which means they only paid $500 for the site plan fee instead of $9,500 for a 104,544 square foot project. That's up to you. I don't know I don't know what you guys want to do, whether you want to give the money away or not. But it shows that the scope of this project is almost impossible to determine. And as Mr. Odanukwa had mentioned in his April report and his September report to the board, that without the determination of the scope of the work, there's no way to determine if what the stormwater requirements are for this project. And with stormwater being a big problem in this area and an important thing to take note of, how do you pass something that doesn't get that type of oversight? Another thing with regards to the property at Clifton Ave, 12 Clifton, is that the property card says it's a 1-family in an R2 zone. Oscar Cruz, at one of the tech reviews, stated it was going to remain a 2-family when he was questioned. But Scott Farrier has on every document I've seen that it's going to be a 3-family. And the plan, it's drawn into a C3 zone. So what is allowed? What isn't allowed? What requires a new variance? How many apartments are going to be in there? How many new parking spaces are going to be required? Is there enough green space for the extra tenants in that area? Does the 20-foot setback for 12 Clifton include the porch? Is that up to code? Because the porch is not 20 foot back, but the foundation is. As I understand it, if you're building a house from 60% or more, it's got to be all 100% within code, so that would require it to be set back. Any of these scenarios, how many bedrooms, how many parking spaces? Does the variance that was issued back in 2017, which stated no more than 36 beds, is that going to uphold when they add more units and people to this property? Because as I see it, they've been in violation of that since day one without green space or parking, and now they're going to add more people, which is going to further jeopardize it. Let me see what else. Oh, they've got 2 parking spaces in front of the mechanic's shop, which has an operating lift. And I did call Deputy Chief Williams today, who was kind enough to answer the phone, but I didn't get the answer because he was trying to figure it out himself, I think. Is that allowed for those 2 vehicles to be parked in front of that garage and be part of their parking count? Another thing is, if the dumpster gets moved, they are going to lose at least 1 parking space. And at the last meeting, you guys were right. You asked us to get the engineers together and try to come up with a resolution. Unfortunately, the only one and only conversation we were able to elicit from Scott of Homegrown Engineering was unfruitful. He told my engineer on June 2nd, 2023, that we'd have something to look at in a couple of weeks, but we never received anything. And the one contingency that we continued to request was that whatever they proposed had a element of regrading and allowing for my water to go. In addition, I don't think, I mean, you guys are the planning board. And as much as the planning department is recommending something, and as much as the law department it seems to be advising something, the bottom line is it comes down to you guys. And does it make sense to issue another plan, approve another plan to an applicant who is also the general contractor of the last construction that's in violation and in enforcement order for malicious compliance, to have permission to move forward with yet another project before not only taking any responsibility, he refuses responsibility for what he did. He literally stated in a letter after that meeting to the board that it didn't mention anything about the chain link fence, and he never intended to do so. He never intended to follow the plan, is what he said. And that's in his writing. That's Oscar's letter to you. And he said that after the meeting, where Scott acknowledged, but it did, in all honesty, the approved plan did say proposed chain link fence for screening purposes. It certainly did. I think we can all remember him saying it, because I know I, for one, was surprised he actually said it. But there was no indication that there was block to be put in this area. And the one thing Scott avoided saying is that had it been the chain link fence, the elevation wouldn't have been changed. And the water, the historical migration of water from Testa's property all the way up to Clifton Ave would have continued to cross Team Challenge's property. Now, the proposed swale or French drain that they think is going to work, for several reasons, won't work. One, they have no regrading of Testa's property to make it receive water. And the elevations that are on the plans don't match what's really out here. There are mounds of dirt back here that they've piled up in the efforts to prevent the water from getting to their property through that block wall. I implore you, someone come out here and let me point out these issues to you. Also, I have asked numerous times for somebody to come out and verify the green space that they claim they have, because I can point out several places. One behind the mechanics garage, which is entirely paved. You can see it from Clifton Ave. Two, the new walkway, concrete walkway that they put into the building at 1315. It's a two-way ramp that takes up quite a bit of their green space. The area over by 1279 in the parking lot, one of them they have that they're going to it's new proposed green space, but in the driveway section closest to the house, they've got a whole wedge that they have greened out, but it's not green, it's pavement. And doesn't count the slab behind the building that the generator sits on, or the air conditioners over by the.
Veronica, if I could just ask you to take a minute for us. Rob, do you have a site plan you could pull up?
I don't have it. I would ask Evan to pull it up if he's got it.
All right, while he's pulling that up,
Yeah, give me a second.
if this was approved and they start construction, wouldn't each part of this plan be reviewed before additional permits, like while inspections are happening to monitor this? What is the process for that? Is there any information you can provide for the board and for Veronica?
We do know that when they pull a building permit, the foundations will be inspected before they continue building. The footings are inspected, and then the final foundation is inspected by the building department. If there is any question about a lift being in a building, that's not something that we know about. We've heard from the counselor that they are looking for a garage license, but to my knowledge, there's not an existing lift on the property. But I haven't inspected each and every square foot of the property.
What do you see on the plan? And can you point out the green space that she's saying is tarred? And also the 20-foot setback. Is that part of the porch or actually the setback?
Okay, he's going in too close, but everything where you see the darker horizontal shading is where new landscaping is being installed as a result of this approval. The parking is being realigned as a result of this approval. And then it's the house and the tool shed, which is being added to the old garage at 1305.
Okay. And where's the plan? Because she mentioned that it keeps changing from a 1 or 2 family and an R2 or a C3. So whatever's on this plan has to, there it is, do I see R2 or C2?
It is a C2 district, this where the house is now. But it's part of their mission. And so its use is covered by the Dover Amendment. And that's not something that we can tread on lightly.
From what excuse me, am I still talking?
Yes, you're still talking.
I'm sorry. Is it my turn?
Before you go on, because we have a lot of information to process, Veronica, Marty, did you have a question? I saw your hand up.
No.
Okay. Go ahead, Veronica.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt. The area that I was referring to in green space is where one of those cars are at the 1279 address, and behind the garage at 12 Clifton. The whole whole space between the garage, which is the mechanic's garage, and it has the lift. I have a picture of it from Main Street with the car up on the lift. But the green space that they have indicated is that entire piece where it bends out to the left and down and then goes up. It'll go straight across. That's just one of them. There's also the air conditioning systems that are sitting on concrete in the front in that T section of green space. And I'd be glad to send you a picture of my own drawing, because I did an extensive oversight with Google Earth to make sure I knew exactly what I was talking about. And I am aware that the green space that's in, or the gray spaces that you're seeing are going to be green space. But you can see how much green space is in the C2 section regarding compared to the R2. And it's supposed to be 25% in the R2, 10% in the commercial space. And I look at a lot of concrete, a lot of pavement.
So are they exempt from that, Rob, because of the Dover?
I think what we're faced with at this situation is those are existing. Now they're existing and the parking is already done, and there's really not a way for us to force the removal of that. We've been, we had a meeting with the, I'll stop there.
Okay.
Madam Chair, could I ask a question, please?
Sure.
I'm just confused. I thought the last time this came before us, Veronica, you were concerned about the water runoff. It seems to me that this whole problem has gotten a lot bigger than water runoff. Am I reading that right?
For me, I appreciate it. The question, for me, if you wanted my focus point, they have created a basin out of my property with the easement and the wall. And 3 engineers now, city engineer, Cohasset engineer, and my latest engineer, who is a structural engineer, have all said, until I can find a way to legally disperse my water, I am in a creek, literally, because the fact is, if my sump pump isn't running, there is no runoff. So the water is just flooding under my basement and around my foundation. I am getting water up between the slab floor and the foundation walls for the first time in 30 years that I've lived here.
Veronica,
never.
I have to say to you that I personally, I feel terrible for you about all this. But my dilemma is I just don't know who's at fault here and legally who can do something about it.
Well, it's been made clear it'll be a civil issue, and we are faced with the decision just to review, and we're not the ones deeming that the easement is going to be appropriate. The improvements, revised submission is appropriate for the drainage. That has to be recorded by not only the department, but it's going to be approved by legal. So that's what we're faced with. So we've heard you, Veronica, we understand, and I hope that you find some comfort in knowing that this is going to go in front of the legal department before anything is approved.
I do, and I'm not saying that they're not going to try and work it out. What I want to make sure, though, is that the board is, and I'm doing this sincerely, the board is not feeling compelled to overlook the fact that the applicant, who is also the general contractor, is currently under an NOV with an enforcement order. I don't believe that should be overlooked by the board when making their decision. And all of these changes that have been requested by the different departments that have been ignored. It seems to me like there's a
Madam Chair, may I?
Yes, please. Mhm.
Do we have anything from the building department on violations of the previous project?
Evan, do we have a copy of the notice of violation and the enforcement order in the file?
There should be, yes. I know there was, I don't know the details of it, but I know there was another one filed just a few months ago. And from my understanding, again, it's been the building department working with the law department, and the applicant to resolve those. And let me
And I
see if
guess
I can find.
And I guess my second question is, why isn't there a representative for the builder today? I just wondering. Does anyone know?
What?
Well, I can answer that because they requested a postponement again, but the board chose to hear it.
Okay,
But they are aware that this might have been heard.
Yeah,
Okay.
we had the right to vote on whether we wanted to hear it and make a decision, grant a postponement.
Madam Chair, we
Yes.
have another speaker who would like to talk, and that is Counselor Susan Nicastro. So I am opening her microphone now. And Counselor, you should be able to speak now.
You don't want to see me?
Oh, well, you can put your camera on too, sure.
It doesn't give me the option to put a camera on.
Oh, okay, hang on. I
You
need
must
to
have
move you
taken
to-
that away. Should I take
No,
this
I'll-
personally?
I'll move you up to panelist. There you go. Oops, she disappeared.
I stopped sharing, but if anyone wants to see the plan again, just let me know and I'll throw it back up.
Okay,
Counselor,
So-
oh, there she is.
so this has been around forever, and surely you're all tired of it, and you'd like to perhaps act on it and get rid of it, okay? But, and I'm, as I speak, I'm gonna set aside all of the issues that poor Veronica is experiencing. I'm just looking at the site plan review application and the plans, okay? And you know, I've done what you're doing. I've sat in your seats for 5 years, so I'm a bit familiar with it. But like, I don't know how you can approve this tonight. And these are my suggestions for you to consider. You're being asked to approve these entire plans. Well, that's a sneaky thing that some developers do. Are you sure that you're only approving the 2 things that are in the circles? They've given you an entire plan. You got to be careful that there aren't some things going on here that you're not prepared to, you haven't reviewed, and you're not prepared to approve. Okay? I'm looking at, you see 2 little circles. Now, despite what the plan says, the property on Clifton Avenue is residential. It's an R2. Okay, the little circle that's part of 1350 Main Street, that is C2. Okay, so you're working on 2 different things here. If you make these plans larger, you've already heard Veronica say, you don't know whether it's a 1-family, which is what the assessor's data says, a 2-family, somebody said a 3-family, you don't know what you're dealing with. But at the same time, do you really think you're going to get enough parking in that little driveway if this is deemed a 3-family? And of course, you're going to let them decide, because where there's ambiguity, they're going to go for it. And why wouldn't they? So that's an issue. That's a real concern. Clifton Avenue is a really busy street. And if you don't give adequate parking, well, they'll probably use the parking behind, because you can see it's a free-for-all back there. I count 7 or 8 different parcels that Teen Challenge is owning there. They're still delineated. They still get 7 or 8 tax bills, but yet all of the parking is merged. Well, where's your parking? What's happening? Is it a 3-family? Are they going to have adequate parking? Does anyone know? They're putting an addition on a garage. Does that impact everything else? Does it impact your green space? Can you really tell what's green space from these plans? I don't know. I mean, if I were you guys just taking this at face value, I would have a lot of questions that might overcome my desire to put this to rest, being that it's been hanging around for so long. So those are the things that I immediately see. You know, can you really act on this tonight as much as you might like to? I don't see it.
Honestly, it's not a matter of wanting just to act on it and put it to bed. I recall hearing this over and over again, and we were focused on the drainage. I don't recall all these other issues coming up other than the wall versus a chain link fence, and that had to do with the stormwater and the driveway asphalt being raised. And it was all about the stormwater, which is, you know, what Marty had referenced. And now these other issues are coming to light. These weren't brought up before.
Well, look at your application. You know, it's kind of confusing and unclear what is going on here and what they want approved.
I asked when we pulled up the site plan, what is on the site plan? So I don't recall now. What are they proposing on there? For, it's just 36 beds.
Oh yeah, and they're adding more beds too. I presume they're not in the garage.
36 beds is what they're proposing for this addition? Is that accurate, Rob? And that can't
In
be
the new-
changed if it's on there.
In the new structure, yes.
You think they're gonna put 36 beds in that little house? I'm sorry to interrupt you, Chairman.
No, does the plan allow for it?
Well, the interior of the building is, and how they stack people in there, it unfortunately isn't in the planning board's purview. We obviously.
Well, normally we do see, sorry, Rob, but normally we do see if it's apartments, we see the apartment space, or if it's a 3-family, we see the bedroom space on plans.
Well, this
I
is
think I
dormitory
confused you.
space for people in recovery.
Rob, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
I've confused you and I didn't mean to. The 36 beds are the variance for the multi-purpose building. I don't mean that to
Oh, thank you.
include the 12 Clifton. The 12 Clifton that is listed as a 3-family. I don't know whether it's 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, or 3 bedrooms, but I have no idea what's inside because they were asked for architectural drawings to provide them, and they haven't. Another issue is that if they don't want you to know what they're going to do, they don't provide the drawings.
Well, what is on the plan then, a 1 or 2 or 3-family? It has to be stated there.
It's stated, it's in his application and narrative that it is a 3-family, 3-unit building.
Okay, 3 units. So that's on the plan, that can't change, correct?
Correct.
And parking, because it came up now as a question, I again didn't know this was an issue, but
And they need zoning relief because zoning says it's a single.
Madam Chairman, if I could, if this is a zoning issue, why is it before the planning board? These things never came up before. It's the first we've heard of them. And I just don't understand why that's happening. And why the engineering firm isn't here. Who can speak to the plan?
well, for these new issues that are surfaced,
Right.
because these weren't.
Well, to be fair, these aren't new issues. They're issues that the board has heard before. It's just been so long ago. The green space requirement has been calculated and is on the plan. The parking requirement has been calculated and we've counted each and every one of those spaces.
Okay.
And know exactly where they are. According to the permits that they had in the past. This is an existing structure that's being replaced. I don't know how many units are in there now, but it's if it needs to go to zoning to become a 3-unit, then that is a zoning issue and not a planning board issue. but I understand where the counselor is coming from. And that's something that we need to make sure that the building department and the building commissioner knows that.
It's an,
Rob, what is your recommendation that we do here? 'Cause I feel like we're swimming upstream.
It's the planning department's opinion, as stated in our staff report, that we approve this plan. Based on the guidance that we've received from the city solicitor's office, there's nothing that the planning board can do about future, or about the groundwater issues that are flooding, allegedly flooding the Veronica Stevens's house at Green Place.
but what I'd like to comment on is that when we came before the board in May, it's absolutely true that the focus was on the violations that were outstanding, because we were told in the tech review that the rest of the plan would not be addressed until the violations were corrected. Rob, you told me yourself they wouldn't be able to move forward without dealing with this issue first. And so the focus has been on getting compliance to the 2017 plan. It was only that we were told you guys were going forward with this plan. They were going to be able to present just the the Clifton 12 and the 2-story tool shed that they're building onto the back of the carpenter's shop, which I also haven't even addressed. I don't, it's like there is so much that was requested from them in tech that they have not provided, that everybody keeps saying, this has never happened before. That's my life. But this whole plan has not been truly vetted, because it got caught up in the water. It got caught up in the NOV. It got caught up in Teen Challenge's denial of what was going on.
Thank
Scott
you. Thank you
swore
for
to me that it was going to be a security gate. There's no gate. He said that to the zoning committee and nothing happens. And I know it's not the engineer that put the wall here, but it was your applicant, and your applicant is, for all intents purposes, he's a violator that is not respecting the planning system. And I don't see how the city can authorize, the planning board can vote on giving somebody who's in violation permission to do anything else. It doesn't bode well for the city. And it certainly does. I mean, even sitting here listening to Mr. May say, well, we've been advised by the legal department to let it go through. What kind of whitewash is that?
Well, I don't think he means just let it go through. What the legal department is advised, because I had this sent to legal several times because I wasn't sure what to do in this situation. And it's come back to us that this is a building department issue, not planning board issue or decision. If we pass this site plan review, it's just on the easement being properly revised. Now, it would be the building department that would reinforce the notice of violation and any issues, not the planning board. Do you understand that, Veronica? We're not approving the building, we're approving the site plan as it's presented, but the building department would deal with the violations and issues.
And I do want to address that. Yes, I did say that Teen Challenge had to fix the violations, which are the parking situation, the green space, the things that were built that were not on the plan. And we had hoped that we would be able to force their hand on other violations, but the city solicitor says, oops, that was not in our jurisdiction, or the planning board's jurisdiction. So this plan shows the improved landscape that was missing from the previous plan, or the implementation of the previous plan, and the improved parking that was not shown on the that was not implemented from the previous plan. The one thing it doesn't directly deal with is the groundwater issue that is seeping into the Green Place property.
And what's not,
And-
it has, it's still a zoning issue as well, so that has to be addressed.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, it just seems like, I have to be honest, when we approved hearing this case, I didn't quite realize it was because we didn't have any representative to talk to. Some of these points are extremely valid. It would be nice to hear from someone who may be in violation, that maybe they're working on this, maybe they're not. We don't know. What are our options in terms of, I mean, do we kick this farther down? Do we postpone it? I mean, what are the options there? Because right now, without, we're between a wall and somebody that has issues.
You can either vote it up or vote it down or postpone it. We strongly suggest that you either vote it up or vote it down. It can't postpone it any longer. It's just.
I think at this point, it's to the point where we're all right, a year or so, you would think it would be important enough to show up. So, I mean, that says it all to me. I don't know how everyone else feels.
I agree with that.
Okay, thank you. Any
The
other?
the board sounds like we're still in the public testimony phase of this public hearing. And so if the board chooses to deliberate, we need to close the public comment section and move on to that. But we want to see if there are any closing arguments from Veronica Stevens or from Councilor Nicastro.
Any other for public or Veronica?
I'm sorry, am I still live?
Yes,
Yeah.
you are.
Oh, okay.
But please, we don't want to hear anything that you've already
That's
said.
exactly what I'm trying to think, I'm relying on common sense here. If you can't answer the questions, what are you approving? So, that's what your charge is. If you have questions, I know I've been asking the questions for a couple years now. But if you can't get the answers, then what are you voting on? I mean,
Well, I want to, again, I heard the questions, but Rob reminded us that they were all addressed, the green space, the parking.
No, I'm sorry, Tony, what I'm referring to is the problems with the actual build, the fact that they never supplied anybody with an architectural drawing. They could put up a Taj Mahal, and if it's a 3-family, it's gonna go. You can't give Teen Challenge that much rope. They will hang somebody with it.
Okay, all right, thank you, Veronica. Susan?
Thank you. I just wanted to say, look at what's in front of you. This is site plan review. Look at that big site plan. They're treating their 7 or 8 parcels as a site, okay? Are you prepared to approve that whole site plan when really what they're talking about in their application are the little circled areas, okay? You can't really get a gauge on this house on Clifton Avenue that they want to rebuild from that huge site plan. Like, is that really adequate? I just throw that out to you because I wouldn't think so. Okay.
Thank you.
And don't you need more detail on that garage they want to make bigger? I mean, come on. And all of this notwithstanding the other issues with the site plan that aren't being addressed. I thank you all for listening to me. Thank you.
And I have a question, Rob. The notice of violation, is that from the 2017 work that they did?
I believe it is, ma'am.
Okay, all right.
When the new headquarters building was built.
but not pertaining to this wall on this property.
Well, that wall and the property are part of that headquarters building.
Okay, all right. Good to know, thank you. All right, anyone else from public, or can we close that portion?
If anybody else would like to testify or give witness on this matter, please use the raise your hand icon at the bottom of the screen. And we will unlock your microphone and you'll be able to speak to the board. And I do not see anyone using the icon, and so I would think you will be clear.
Okay, board members, any other comments or questions? Okay, is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second,
Okay, so if,
so motion
reminder
to
that
approve,
the,
yeah, with well, we have to, with final
Oh.
approval is contingent on the easement of 30 Clifton Ave being properly revised, reviewed by the city staff and recorded.
and, the return to, is it return to ZBA? Or just heard in front of the zone, going to zoning, what is this? With the zoning issues? Do we have to make mention of that? Or should we? I think
Madam
we can do it.
Chair, we will inform, as they pull a building permit, they need to specify what they're, how many units they're going to be building there. And if we will notify and put in the citizen serve file to make sure that if they need to get zoning relief, that they should do it at that time.
Madam Chairwoman, could I ask a question? Rob, what is exactly in the purview of the planning board here? Make it really clear to me. I'm a little bit slow. And I was not around for 2017 and 18 and 19. You're talking 5 years here. It's been going on.
Yes, it has been going along quite a while.
So what
we-
exactly,
what
what
is in-
exactly are we voting on?
What in front of the board, what is in front of the board is their application to rebuild the residential structure on Clifton Ave, which is in between Main Street and the big auditorium building,
Which is already
they-
there.
which is already there. They want to add an addition to the back of a garage, which they are calling a two-story tool shed. And then the improvements to the green space and to the parking spaces that are shown on the plan in the darkened hash marks.
All right, so if we vote to approve this, these concerns by Veronica will be addressed or not?
Excuse me, sorry, I also forgot,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. They are proposing to build a drainage swale at 30 Clifton. Evan, could you correct me?
I believe that's it. Yeah, it's the next
But
door
it's-
one.
it's-
Just no, I think
It's
it's
the
30.
area at the top of the
Yes,
wall
30
to
Clifton.
make sure that water doesn't come off of that hill, which could cause problems. And so the swale will then bring the water back to Teen Challenges property and will go into their storm recharge system.
So the, Marty, from what I'm understanding, the parking and green space has been addressed, is on the plan, and they have to stick to this plan. I understand that they're showing all the different lots, as Councilor Susan mentioned, but we're sticking to just that address and that lot, that addition to that property, not the rest, even though it's on the plan. It has to be addressed by zoning, because it's a 3-family, so that'll be taken care of there. Rob, what about the architectural drawing that wasn't provided? Is that supposed to be?
It does not need to be provided.
Not a requirement.
Generally, generally people give those to us just for the heck of it. But we are looking at the physical footprint of the building, where the stormwater is going to be stored, and how it, any green space requirements or parking requirements that are needed are satisfied.
Like the rest of the board, I want to feel good about our decision here, so I'm just going to make it very clear again. If we have to reiterate the conditions that might already be approved, but the parking has to meet the criteria. The green space has to go in front of zoning because of the 3-family. They have to stick to
Madam,
that. Yes,
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. In addition to Larry's condition that the easement be reviewed by the law department and approved, that we should also think about conditioning the approval on the confirming of the number of residential units that are going to be in the Clifton Avenue house. And if it's more than a single family unit right now, or if it's not a single family unit right now, they need to go for get zoning relief.
well, I thought it's written as a 3-family. I had asked that question, so we were clear on that.
The plan shows it as a 3-family. We do not know for sure if it's currently a 1, 2, or 3-family house.
Okay, so
So
Madam
can I just
Chair.
clarify, the plan is they're going to be raising the building that's there now and building a brand new structure.
So Madam
Correct.
Chair, just a clarifying question. Are we saying they're going to go in front of the zoning board regardless, or only if there's going to be these, if it's changing into a 3-family?
if there's zoning issues with it changing into a 3-family, if it's not currently a 3-family, has to be established what it is, and if it's being increased, it has to go in front of zoning. So that'd be a condition. And Evan, you said they are raising the structure and building. I thought they were doing an addition to what's there.
It's both, Madam Chair. From my understanding, the house, the dwelling is going to be raised and they're going to construct a new building. The garage, they're building in addition to the existing structure. The shed rather. There was 2 circles. The one in the north is being replaced with a new structure. The southern, here, I'll pull up the plan again. Yeah, hang on a second.
Oh, that's new news again.
This right here, per their application, this is the dwelling we were talking about. We were wondering if it was going to be, it's going to be a 3-family. From my understanding is they are going to be raising the current structure and constructing a 3-family or a 3-unit, whatever they called it. And then down here below it, this piece is going to be an addition. The shed will be an addition to this here, which is existing right now. So hopefully that answered the question.
Hmm.
And I just looked up the property card for the Clifton Avenue home. It does show it as a 1-unit building right now. So they would need zoning relief if they were going to build a 2 or more units there, because I believe the property is. Oh.
Okay.
If their map is wrong, then the property is an R2.
Okay,
And they
so
would be able to do 3 units by right.
In an
If
R2
it's a-
zone, you can build 3, yeah.
Yes.
So they would not have to go to zoning. Madam Chairwoman, I'm sorry to interrupt.
that's okay. Thanks for the clarification.
And if it is correctly C2, then the Dover Amendment trumps the use. And so they would, because it's part of their mission, then using that as part of their mission as a residential facility changes the use automatically.
Okay.
Does it trump parking requirements and parking requirements? Does it trump that?
It can, but in this case, because they are not actual apartments, that they're residential units for their mission, and these are young men in bunk beds without vehicles. For the most part, we've calculated that parking should not be a problem there.
Okay. All right. I've gotten answers to my questions. I know we closed that portion, but board members, do you have any other questions?
Nope.
Okay. We should still include the piece, though. It has to go in front of zoning if it's in a C2.
Isn't that their response? Sorry, Madam Chair, isn't that their responsibility to do that? Or
Rob, I
mention
guess.
that?
Rob,
This
I
is
guess the
Belt and suspenders.
okay, thanks.
We just want to be doubly sure.
All right, and again, the notice of violations, that's for the building department to deal with if they're gonna give permits to this contractor to build. That's not what we authorize.
So what you'll be voting on right now is to accept or reject the site plan that has been presented that shows the increase in green space, it shows the reorganization of the parking, it shows the demolition and the rebuild of the 12 Clifton Avenue home, and it shows the 2-story addition tool shed to the 1205 Main Street property, and it shows a drainage swale at 30 Clifton Avenue.
Yes, I have,
The conditions that
Oh.
have been discussed are that the city solicitor's office should approve and sign off on the easement language that will allow the installation of drainage at 30 Clifton Avenue. And the other condition that should be considered is that if the property needs zoning relief, it has to go to the Zoning Board of Appeals.
right. I was just asking that because if I was Veronica, the neighbor here, I'm asking Rob because the notice of violations or the permits are issued by the building department, correct? So if I was the neighbor, that's who they're the ones who,
That's correct.
okay. And same thing with Councilor Nacastro. All right, thank you. Okay, start this over. Is there a motion?
I think, Madam Chair, I believe there's still a motion on the floor, or is it?
Yes,
I just want to go through it again because we interrupted the motion and I wanted to be clear and clearly stated with the initial motion, the condition.
Okay, so you currently have an open motion right now to approve with the easement condition already stated. So if you want to add any further conditions, now is the time, and then you can vote on it.
It'll go through necessary, any zoning process, etc., building permits. Just want that on the record. As a condition. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All right, roll call. James?
No,
Yolando?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes,
Marty?
Yes.
Tony? Yes. Okay.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, can we just resay the motion just for the record? Resay, I think, and we said it before.
Restate what? Sorry, Isaiah?
Restate the motion, what the motion was, just for the record.
The motion was to pass from James with the condition on the easement. Larry second the motion. James voted against passing this. Yolanda voted to approve. Larry voted to approve. Marty voted to approve. correct me if I'm wrong, board members, and I voted to approve. Okay. All right, thank you. Next, we have the reorganization. We have to re-elect the chair, the vice chair, traffic, and the zoning board, ZBA representative. Okay. For the vice chair, it's basically someone to cover in case the chair is absent. I think, Larry, did you hold that position before?
Yes, I did.
And then understanding Larry is leaving us last meeting in May. He wouldn't be a candidate for that. All right, let's start with the chair.
I nominate Tony Gonzalez.
I
Gonzalez.
second that.
All right, roll call, James,
Yes.
Yolando,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes,
Marty,
Yes.
Tony, yes, thank you all, I accept. Okay.
And I'd like
next.
to make a motion to nominate Orlando for the vice chair.
All right, I second that. Roll call, James,
Yes.
Yolando,
Yes.
Larry,
yes.
Marty,
Yes.
Tony, yes. Congratulations, Yolando. Do you accept?
Thank you. Yes, I do.
All right, I'd like to nominate James for the traffic.
Second.
Okay. Roll call, James,
Yes.
Yolando,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes,
Marty,
Yes.
Tony, yes. All right, congratulations, James. And then I nominate James again for ZBA.
Second.
Okay, roll call, James,
Yes.
Yolando,
Yes.
Larry,
yes.
Marty,
Yes.
Tony, yes. All right, thank you, James.
Thank you, guys. Congratulations, Yolando.
Thank you.
All right,
Congratulations, Sue.
any other business before we adjourn?
Just
Okay.
everyone got the sign-in sheet. Has everyone signed it already?
No, I didn't.
If not, please
Yeah.
do it as soon as you can. That would help us out.
Yeah,
And
right.
That's it.
Okay.
Could do it
I-
after we close
Did,
this.
did you send it already? Because I didn't see it. Did anyone else see it?
Yeah, I saw it. I was just.
Oh, okay.
Must have just come through. I'll do it as soon as we hang up.
Try to check the spam, sometimes it gets kind of.
Yeah. Been known. All right. Thank you.
All right, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
All right, James,
Yes.
Wando,
Yes.
Larry,
yes.
Marty,
Yes.
Tony, yes. Okay, good night, everyone. Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Good night.
everybody.
Good night,
Thank
board.
you. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.